Back in July 2018, I posted this quick announcement about how to play retro games on a Amazon Fire Stick, which basically was pointing to a video published by ETA Prime on YouTube, explaining how to install RetroArch in an Amazon Fire Stick in a way you can just start playing your favorite retro games with this device. Interesting enough, the article is still very popular, and we usually have 100-200 visits every week of people interested in using their Amazon Fire Stick as a retro game machine. Last week, Amazon Canada was having a sale where the Amazon Fire Stick 4K was on with like a discount of like 20%, I think, and I decided to buy one. And I'm actually very happy because it works very well. And when I installed and started like actually using to stream Netflix and movies, I remembered this article and thought that would be interesting to have an update version of it showing the installation and configuration of the Fire Stick 4K as a retro game machine. This video tutorial will also have a written article on Vintage is the New Old, which I will provide the link in the description of this video. So let's get started. Our first step is to create a folder in a cloud service like Google Drive, Dropbox, Box.net, and so on. In my case here, I'm creating a folder called Fire TV on my Google account. This is just to make it easier to find the files I need later. Our next step is to download the Android app called RetroArch, which will allow us to play retro games in the Fire Stick. In this case, I found this website on Google and downloaded the APK on my local computer, and later, when it's done, I will copy over my Google Drive. After having the APK saved on my local machine, in my case here I open Finder, or if you're on Windows, you will open Windows Explorer. Select your Google Drive again in the browser and just drag and drop the APK onto the folder on your cloud service. At this point, the RetroArch will be uploaded to my personal Google Drive account. Our next step is to find some games to play. In my case here, I'm using Vintage is the New Old homebrew database to find a Commodore 64 game that we can use for testing. Remember that RetroArch supports many different consoles and retro computers, so feel free to Google around and find the homebrew games that you want to play in your Fire Stick TV. Just to illustrate the process here, I will download this game, Bell Ringer 3. In this case, I have a compressed zip file, and before I upload to Google Drive, I have to expand it and just copy the D64 file, which is the Commodore 64 disk image. I will copy to the same place where RetroArch is in my cloud drive. Our next step is in the Fire TV stick. In order to install third-party applications that are not readily available on the Amazon App Store, we need to go to Settings here and then go to the right on the My Fire TV option, and then go to Developer Options, and Apps from Unknown Sources, you have to turn that on. It's basically saying that you can install any application from anywhere, which is what we need to install the external APK. Our next step now is to open the File Explorer this file explorer is the same one that you can find on the Amazon App Store and you can use in some other Android phones. The good thing about this software is that it, other than the local folder, it also allows you to mount external network locations, in this case here the cloud drive, which I'm gonna add one from the Google Drive here. As you can see, there are many other options that you can choose from. I'm gonna add now the Vintage is the new old Google account in order to access its Google Drive. As you can see, it's kind of painful to type using the remote control, so you have the option to install a Bluetooth keyboard if you happen to have one around. In my case here, I'm struggling with the remote control, so I'm gonna just fast forward until I get this done. After you enter your user and password, Google will ask you to allow third-party applications to access your data, which is normal here. You can just allow, and then you can see I have Vintage the new old folder, which I'm gonna click in, Fire TV folder, and then you can see I have RetroArch and in this case Bellringer 3D64. To select both files at once, I press the big circle button in your remote control, mark both files, go down here, click copy, and then go to my local folder, and in this case I'm just going to put on download folder, and then also go back here at the bottom and select paste, and both files will be downloaded, as you can see. In my case, I noticed that it takes some time to get started, but as soon as it gets started, it will really depends on your internet connection. But both files are pretty small, so it shouldn't take longer. After the two files are downloaded, I will basically select the RetroArch file, click, and this dialog opens and I will click install. The install dialog message will show up and I notice that it's all empty, which it seems normal, but you can still select the install button and complete the RetroArch installation. As soon as the installation is complete, I need to configure RetroArch with the cores for the emulators you want to run. So we're just gonna open, and RetroArch asks permission to access our external storage and also photos, media files on this device. You just say allow, and the RetroArch interface will show up doing some post installation process here. As you can see, it's very similar to the PlayStation user interface, but what we need to do here is select load core and then download core, select the core we want to download. In my case here, I will try the Commodore 64 using Vice C64 emulator. Just click on it and RetroArch will download for you all automatically, so you don't have to be concerned where to find those cores. The next steps is load content and go to the storage, download folders, and then select my game. Just a small note here, when I was testing this tutorial, I found that the previous game wasn't very good to show the Fire TV stick capability, so I changed to Aviator, which is a great homebrew game that was released recently. So this is the one we are loading and playing. So let's check now. simple games, you can probably use the Fire Stick remote control to control your player, but if you are a serious retro game player, I will suggest to buy a Bluetooth controller. One that is recommended for the Amazon Fire Stick is the Matricon Bluetooth controller that you can Google and found at Amazon or other places for around $20. This is the one I'm using right now to play this game. I hope this video is useful for everybody wanting to use the Fire Stick as a retro game machine, and if you like this video, please subscribe our channel.